Hi there everyone, this is May Larson with Creando con Detalles, also known as Creating with Details, and I want to share with you my design team project, my very first design team project for Buttons Galore and More. I am extremely excited about being part of this wonderful design team, and let me tell you, we got some awesome things from them. This cameo is part of their collection there. Isn't that just gorgeous? And so is this little button here and my little pearl drop that's in the center of my flower. But here is what I got as being part of their design team. I am so super excited. Aren't they just gorgeous? And again, you can find all these at buttonsgaloreandmore.com. They got a little bit of everything for anybody. Perfect for any project, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing a card, scrapbook page, a tag, whatever it is that you're doing. It doesn't have to be sewn on. It can be any project that you want to create. So be sure to stop by at buttonsgaloreandmore.com and check out all their great and wonderful buttons. Now, my first design team project, as you can see, is a envelope. And I use twine from Major Road, and I use, of course, Buttons Galore's buttons, and these are like little pearls. Wanna Scrap Bling, and this is their Wanna Scrap Fancy Frames. And if you open it up, you're going to pull out a beautiful little 3.5 by 4.5 card. And now, isn't that gorgeous? And again, I added more of their little pearl drop buttons to the center of my rosette flowers. And then I also added a little button here to hold my tag. Now I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to go ahead and begin a little short mini tutorial on how to create this little envelope. It's very simple, very easy to create. You're going to first need your score board, and I'm going to pull out my Martha Stewart scoreboard. I use craft paper, and I went ahead and marked some up. And so the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to place our paper, and you're going to cut it at 7.5 long by 8.5 wide. Again, 7.5 long by 8.5 wide. And we're going to do the first score at half, right? Then our second score is going to be at 4.5. And then we're going to turn our paper this way, the long way, okay? So you're going to be turning your paper, and you're going to score at 5.5, and you're going to make sure that, like, see how I have it here? I scored at half, then I scored at 4.5, and then I turn it around with that ½ inch score on top, and I'm going to score it at 5.5. So again, with the ½ inch score line, I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to score it at 5.5. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it around again this way, okay, because this is going to be our base. It's going to be like that. And we're going to score that at 7 inches. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and set aside my scoreboard. And I'm going to bring out my scissors. Make sure you have some paper cutting scissors. And as you can see here, I have some lines that shows where you're going to be cutting. And that exactly shows where you're going to cut. So if I turn my paper this way, I'm going to be cutting this first block here, just like so. And you can use your blade. I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors since they're right here handy. Okay, so you're going to cut it right up to that first score line at 4.5, and we're going to trim it along the way. Okay, so it's going to look like that. See? And then we're going to turn around to the bottom, and we're going to snip. See here where I have cut, and I have it cut over here as well. We're going to be snipping those off. It's going to look like that little square we're going to cut off. And then I'm going to make a little triangle cut snip there. So now it's going to look like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this side of the card because we're not using that part. Okay, so we're just going to cut it like so. Go ahead and toss all those little extra pieces or use them for recycling. And then I'm going to go ahead and angle this side like so. Okay. Now if you have score tape, which is what I used, you can go ahead and apply your score tape. You're going to go ahead first take your bone folder. I can find mine, I had it here. So we're going to go ahead and score that on those along the line where we scored, just to get a really better fine line. Put this aside. Okay, so this is just making the envelope, so it's going to look just like that. Now you can go ahead and use like some round punches, or design that a little better there in the front. I went ahead and made mine square. I'm going to go ahead and trim a little bit more of this here, just so that it's lined up right. Okay, so you can round it up right here on the edge of your, that's actually the closure, the flap, the front flap. And go ahead and use your bone folder. Get those lines really good and folded. I'm going to do the same thing here to the back, which is that little, I'll go ahead and open it up, which is that little inside flap. Now you can do one or two things. You can put your score tape, oops, let's trim that. You can go ahead and put your score tape along these little inside panels. Make sure you don't glue this. And flush it against this edge, just like so. See that? That way you don't have, or you can go ahead, because you're going to decorate that back part, you can put your score tape in the inside here and flush it that way. Okay, and go ahead and you can use your bone folder to get good, better measurements. So it would look like that. I didn't like it like that, even though you're going to be covering the back. What I did is I applied my score tape here and here, and I ran out of my score tape, so this is going to be a practice little one here. I highly recommend using very sturdy glue for this envelope. But this is going to be just one of my practice ones with you. So make sure you use score tape, some very good glue. And go ahead and use your bone folder just to make sure it sticks really well. Okay, I'm always worried about that. So then you have your folder, and you can use a circle punch and cut out a half semicircle here before you start adhering your decorative pieces. I layered it, and I used a paper by We Are Memory Keepers Antique Chic. And what I did is I cut my pieces, I'm going to bring that over here, at 3 3/4 inch, my first layer, by 4 3/4 inch, and that's going to look just like this. That's going to be that piece there. So we're going to glue that just like that, right? But what I did is I glued my first piece, then with my adhesive, my second layer is actually also from We Are Memory Keepers Antique Chic, and that piece is 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and you can go ahead and use your adhesive. I sewed mine because I love sewing, and I also distressed the edges, so feel free to do that because it just gives it that really elegant look to it. Okay, and I am really finicky about making sure my paper doesn't lift up. Now my third piece is also from We Are Memory Keepers Antique Chic, and this piece I cut it at 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I went ahead and distressed it. Before I went and applied it on my third layer, if you can see here, I sewed all 3 pieces together. I adhered them, then I ran it through the machine and sewed it. But for the purpose of this video, because I wanted to show you the measurements, this piece was, I went ahead and sewed it. Normally I sew all 3 just like that, just so that it sticks really well. So go ahead and apply very good tape, especially around those sewn edges, and apply it to your second layer of your cardstock or your designer stock, and use your bone folder to make sure that it really sticks well. So now we have 2 pieces just like so, and you're going to use, I suggest you use score tape because of where the sewn edges, sometimes with the glue it tends to lift up. So I had already done this, and for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to do the front, so we're not running out of time. So go ahead and remove the backing of your score tape and apply it to the front, just like so. And you can go ahead, use some distressed ink. This is Tim Holtz Vintage Photo, and distress it just a little. I'm doing it really quick. Do the front and the back. And you can cut these flaps however you want. If you want to angle them, if you want to round up the corners, you know, just make it your own. So make sure you get it really, really good. Now these are makeup sponges that I'm using. I think it works a lot better for me because I tend to use a lot of distressing ink, so it tends to hold up better for me. So now I have it all stressed up, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this first layer here into my front of my envelope, and go ahead and make sure you get that really in there. Now my inside flaps, I went ahead and I cut 2 pieces of 3 3/4 by 1 3/4, also from the line. Now, Buttons Galore and More was very nice to send us these. These were actually sent by Clear Snap, and it's the color box, and I'm going to use their black cat eye archival die to ink up my edges, just because this paper had some, once you cut it, the black, you can see some white in the fibers. So once you have that done, go ahead and cut 2 pieces of 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. That's going to be your second layer, and you're going to apply that on top, just like so. And of course, you would be sewing this if you wanted to, just to make it easier. I would adhere all 3 pieces and then sew it. And then your decorative piece, this piece here, is 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. Again, 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, and adhere it to the top of your third layer. Make sure you get good. This one, again, for the purpose of the video, I had pre-sewn it. Normally I would sew all 3 edges together. So just, I eyeball everything. Go ahead and rub it in. So then this one's going to look just like that. Gave it a little bit of a twist. It's also from that same collection. We Are Memory Keepers. And I would use, again, I would definitely use score tape for this, just so that you get a good sturdy, it adheres really well. Another good glue that you can use is Beacon. That works very well. And see, there's some score tape here. Go ahead and peel those off. Okay. And apply it. Make sure that it lines up really well, that it lines up with the bottom one. Of course, I'm used to doing everything by eye, but just make sure it lines up well. Same thing here. So you're not getting it all crooked. Okay, so once we get it in, again, use your bone folder to make sure it sticks really well, because you got so many layers and plus it's sewn. And so this one would go adhere to the back, just like so. For the purpose of this video, we're not going to do that. So now we have this wonderful little envelope that we've created. Now the card that I made is 3 1/2. Sorry, it's 4 1/2 long, and the width is 7, and you're going to score it at 3 1/2. So it would look like so. You would cut it 4 1/2 by 7 and score it right down the middle at 3 1/2. So it would look like this. And let me move some of this stuff aside and put that aside. And then I cut for my insides and my front. See? Let's see, my tape, I didn't remove all the tape, huh? See? Apply that in there really well. So my bottom piece is actually going to be 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 is the first layer, and then the second layer is 3 inches by 4 inches, and I distressed it. And go ahead and apply that on there, just like so. Okay. And then again, for the purpose of the video, I went ahead and sewed this one, and it's 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that's your third layer that goes just like that. I would use, again, score tape. I wouldn't be using this one, but this is just for the video purposes. I ran out of my score tape. It's actually at the store where I work. So then you would have some pieces just like that that you would put on the front of your card, and you're going to do 2 of those for your card. Okay, So then we're going to adhere this to the front. And then you can go ahead and start decorating. I eyeball everything, and of course distress it before you start doing anything. I tend to eyeball everything. So then it would look like that, and you're going to do the same thing in the inside. But of course, for the video, we're not going to do that. It'll take us forever. So what I did for the closure for my envelope is I used my cameo buttons that I got from Buttons Galore and More, and you can go to their website at www.buttonsgaloreandmore.com, and you're going to spell out the word "and." So I snipped this piece here. And I took some of the major, I might be pronouncing that wrong, twined, and I made a little knot. I can get my fingers to cooperate. Doesn't have to be perfect, but so I did that, and then I took some hot glue and I glued it, and I set it aside and let it glue up, get cold. And then for the inside, again, I use these little cute tabs that are tags that came in that We Are Memory Makers Antique Chic package, and it brought these little cute tags, and I thought it was perfect. And you can just apply that onto your card. You can do different things for it. I'm going to go ahead and actually use this one instead. Distress it a little because I like things to look vintage and shabby chic. Okay, and figure out where you want it. This one was perfect because it had the chandelier, and I put a Button Galore and More button on top of the chandelier to make it look like it was hanging. So that was just perfect. That worked out great. I'm going to go ahead and apply that right there. I think it looks great. Just make sure you get plenty. I'm just a stickler for making sure everything sticks well. Worst thing that you can have is a project that's lifting up. So once that's cooled off, I use some of these rosettes, and I got these from Carla S001 last year, and with my fabric scissors I trimmed some rosettes off. Just like so. This side. So I have a little rosette, and you can probably distress it with either coffee or something to make it look old. Turn that off a little more. And for my center, I use one of my little Buttons Galore and More pearl drop buttons. They're so cute. And I applied it right in the center, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put a drop of hot glue right in the center, just like so. Applied it there to the center of my little rosette flower. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that because that's exactly where I want it. And I use a fancy frame from Walnut Scrap. You can use whatever you want. Now this little piece here, I'm going to go ahead and trim it. Already ready for me to glue. And I centered it on my card, just like so. And applied some hot glue. If you notice, I didn't trim off center it, and I always eyeball everything. And that cameo is so lovely. Perfect for any project. So just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab another one of my little buttons that I got from Buttons Galore and More. And I am going to use it as my closing. Apply it right there. And I'm not going to snip this piece because I want to be able to wrap my twine around it. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of hot glue on the top. And you can use Velcro also to make a closure, but Buttons is perfect for just about any little project that you have. So I centered it there, let it cool off a little. And that is how you create a envelope using Buttons Galore. And this is Buttons Galore and More. Beautiful, beautiful cameo buttons. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm going to let that cool off a little. And then once we've cooled it off, we're going to be able to wrap our twine around it just like so. And we made a beautiful envelope with a gorgeous card. Thank you so much for being here tonight with me. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I would be more than happy to send you the measurements for this project. Again, thank you. Please stop by at www.buttonsgaloreandmore.com and check out their beautiful, gorgeous buttons. Bye-bye.